Okay, so stepping into the K5. So this is my personal car, but it is an all-wheel drive model, and I do want to do kind of a review on it. So I'm leaving the parking garage to my apartment now. Sorry for the rustle and bustle, but here we go. So first things you notice right off the bat is the fact that it's very quiet in here. Okay, for an economy branded car, it's actually very quiet. You know, you hear a little bit of the motor, you do, but nothing that you don't really care to not hear, if that makes sense. So other thing you notice right off the bat is the fact that the steering is very direct. I know it is speed sensitive steering, so at lower speeds obviously it's a little looser, so to speak, so that way it's more comfortable, but at higher speeds it gets tighter and tighter, so that way you have more of a direct feeling. So I do like that a lot, especially if you change between drive modes and things like that. Sport mode is very, very fun. Matter of fact, I'll switch to it now. Other things to make note is the driving position in this car is absolutely fantastic. I can tell Kia really wanted to make this a more fun driving, adventurous car in that sense. You can do some spirited driving in this car and have fun. It's not a fast car at all. The 1.6 4-cylinder, it is a turbo motor, produces about 185 horsepower, I think, 185 horsepower, but it produces 195 foot-pounds of torque, which is a decent torque figure. I mean, it's a small turbo motor, but what would you expect? But in other words, it has a little pep in its step. Now, I will say this, the transmission, it's an 8-speed torque converter automatic. It does feel very similar to a dual clutch in the way that it kind of has that gripping feeling at first. You know how you wait for the two clutches to grip in a dual clutch for it to start moving? This 8-speed has that same driving feel. Now, one thing I will say as well is that everything in the interior feels very high quality. So yeah, you have your soft touch plastics here and there, but they all feel really, really nice, really well put together. And the car just feels very solid. It really does. And I know Kia personally wanted to aim this car at not only buyers of economy brands, but to try to steal some people who are considering entry-level luxury brands such as Acura, Audi, to an extent BMW, things like that. Do I think they're going to step on their own toes with the Genesis brand? Possibly, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a margin. So, and then one thing I will say as well, don't go, there we go, is my only, it's not a true complaint, but when you get to speeds of about 75, 80 miles an hour or higher, you do get a little bit of wind noise. I don't know if it's because of the design of the side view mirrors, where they are in the door or whatever have you, but you do get a little bit of that road noise there, and it's not really loud, but it's there. You notice it. It's not a big thing for me. I just turn up the volume on the music and just call it a day. So that's about it. Other things that I really like about the interior: everything is driver focused. The infotainment system, the climate controls, everything is angled towards the driver, which is really, really nice. You can tell they really wanted to make this a driver oriented vehicle, and I think they did execute that really well. The only thing I do wish is that they brought the digital instrument cluster from the Korean model to America. Don't know if they're going to do that on maybe a refresh, a mid-life cycle refresh, or whatever have you, a facelift, but that is one thing I wish it did have. Now, this being an all-wheel drive model, give it some beans here. I'm only going about 3/4 throttle, and in sport mode, it gets up there. I mean, I'm going 60 now, so it's not fast by any means, but it's very comfortable in the way that it handles the speed. So it's a very comfortable, speedy car, and that's something I do like. So now, one thing I also do like with the driving experience, the way it is, especially in sport mode, you notice that when the steering tightens up, it feels very, very direct. Okay, the directness of the steering is definitely correlated with the speed that you're going, which to be expected, but it's also nice to know that you know where the car is going to turn when you turn the wheels. So very, very predictable handling in the vehicle. It's almost confidence inspiring. Matter of fact, it's very confidence inspiring in this car. I don't even want to say like kind of. It is really confidence inspiring, and that's something that I really like, because that's something really rare in this segment of car. A lot of cars are going soft, more comfort oriented, especially sedans, which are almost rare nowadays because most companies have taken them out. This car fixes all of that, so that's also really nice to make note of. So, and then the transmission's just so buttery smooth. I mean, it shifts almost as quick as a dual clutch. It really does. And that's something that really, really surprises me, because it's an in-house 8-speed from the Kia Hyundai group, and they've just executed it really well. So I do think they've done incredibly well here. That is the automatic collision warning, because I crossed lanes right behind this Camry. So when you're coming to a stop, you don't hear the engine, you don't hear anything. It's super quiet. You have a lot of solace within the cabin. You know, you've got some natural lighting from the panoramic sunroof, which is not available in all models, but this one has it, and I love it. And it's everything that I do want in a sedan, and it just adds to the allure of this vehicle, because obviously the outside design is very stunning. Inside matches it, in my opinion. Simplistic when it needs to be, but it adds a little complexity where it needs to be as well. So the gears lag in sport mode, which is good. So when you're downshifting or anything like that, it'll hold you at a higher RPM, so that way you got a little bit more power available. I will say the only thing I wish they included on this model, the GT line, that they have on the GT, is paddle shifters. If they added paddle shifters, I think it would have been probably a win-win for this interior, because they give you the D-cut steering wheel, they give you all-wheel drive as an option, they give you the red interior as an option, which you can't get on the GT model, but they don't give you the paddle shifters. So something to make note of there. So pulling into the Kia dealership now, because as everybody knows, this is actually where I work. So in saying that, that is my take on the driving experience for a K5. I think it's a very, very well-rounded sports sedan, and yes, I will call it a sports sedan, even though it is a economy sedan. It is definitely a sports sedan. I think it handles its own, and I think it's a very fun car to drive. Comfortable amount of power for what it's worth. I think it's a very solid buy, especially if anybody wants a fun to drive car. So in saying that, let's continue the day, shall we?